Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Trev. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, Trev, and
Sure.
and I want to ask. Where you had kind of brought up some really great resources and influencers. Next Gen Men, the hockey coach that's talking about and having some of these discussions around healthy, positive masculinity. I'm curious now because you mentioned that you were a youth once. So, fact. Was there someone that you remember when you were young, when you were still, young teen boy, that really inspired you in your own sort of journey of becoming a man?
I think there was a few people. I would say I grew up in a faith tradition that, although has definitely some concerns with regards to gender stories, some of it enables you to express yourselves in lovely ways as well. And so there was a president of a Bible school that I went to who he was just a kind person. He was a mental health nurse and an Anglican priest. And so he had this calm way of being. And I had a friend who, in my first few weeks of going to Bible school, passed away. And I didn't really know this man, this president of the school, very well, but he was teaching our course. And I just went up to him one day and I just broke down, and he just gave me a hug. And he was a stranger, essentially, right? I vaguely knew him, and yet showed that kindness as a leader, right? As a man, as a leader of the school, showed this kindness and this bigness of creating space and recognizing pain and sitting in that pain. And some of those negative gender stories I've heard from growing up and experienced growing up are like, don't show pain, and definitely don't
cry.
Receive pain. And if someone's crying in front of you, tell them that, right?
Yeah.
And so for him to show that there's a lot of possibility for faith traditions to really do some good gender interrogation if they want to, but there's some things that are also might be holding that up as well. But that's for a different conversation.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because what I hear in you saying, and what I hear you sharing in that story is that, one of your positive, male role models, mentors, we could call him, didn't shame you, didn't, tell you to, pull yourself together and be strong in a time where you were experiencing grief and sadness, and you were given that permission to express, very natural emotions in response to something that was terrible and hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And would you say, that growing up, that was that experience that you had with that teacher, was that similar to many of the experiences that you had growing up as a teen, or did that mark some of the first times that you were, as a young man, being told it was okay to have, different emotions?
I think I had a mix of different messaging. So when I was young in elementary school and junior high, I got bullied. So those are some negative messages for sure. Negative sanctions, being bullied, all sorts of things. And then by the time I was in high school, I was playing football. I was involved in theater and choir. And so some of the gender stories you can imagine would be quite varied in each of those contexts. So I was starting to kind of have different ideas, and it was starting to be challenged, but definitely there was still a lot of reinforcement of some of the negative ones as well. I had some friends that I could talk to a bit, and so it started to open up for me in that, as trust was built and as I knew some of these stories, like other people in our lives were also kind of struggling with them, and they weren't great. They weren't helping us. They weren't as lovely and good as maybe we had deep down hoped for, but we couldn't express. And so having to start those conversations with friends, it was slowly happening at that time. But it wasn't fully either interrogated or embraced as well, to really like ignore that stuff because it hurts. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again.